So today's session, we have with us Mr. Lee Newman here, he's presenting from Madrid. Hello, good afternoon, Lee.
Hello, thanks, Luke.
Thanks for being with us. And yeah, we're all set. Lee, you are the Dean of Social and Behavioral Sciences at Instituto de Empresas, i.e. Business School. And I understand your research, teaching and training activities focus on managerial decision-making and positive approaches to leadership.
That's right.
And you are a U.S. citizen, so we should be hearing clear, crisp English in that sense. And I understood you have an interdisciplinary training in engineering from Brown University, but also management from MIT and psychology and computer science degree from University of Michigan. And bringing a wealth of experience as a management consultant from with McKinsey and Company, and also 2 technology ventures that you were in as a co-founder. So that's definitely an interesting resume. That brings us to the session of today that we see now in front of us, positive leadership. So in about the next 45 minutes to an hour, you're gonna lead us through this. Lee, I'll give you the control. There we go. And you have the floor now, so thank you to briefly introduce us and lead us into the presentation.
Great, thanks a lot, Luke. I'm just going to get my my boxes here set up so that I can see questions coming in, as Luke said, via the Q&A box. So I'm happy to take questions as I go through this and take them in real time, and then at the end we'll have a little bit of time to double back and talk a little bit more about some of the questions that people have asked. So what I want to do after just that quick warm-up, which I'll fully explain later, is set the stage for the topic today. And I think probably, I know that a lot of you are middle or senior managers, and I would assume would agree that these are the kinds of things that we're dealing with in the modern workplace, where we're asking our employees, or we ourselves are having to do more with less. We're facing extreme competition in our marketplaces. We're given tighter deadlines by our companies. We're coping with what it seems to be ever constant change. Change is the new norm. We're trying to capture diversity in global teams to try to harness the power of different kinds of thinking, and we're trying to manage operations across the globe. So these are the kinds of challenges that we're facing, and what I want to use as a quote here from Einstein, a man much smarter than myself. What he said is something to the order of that we can't solve problems, we can't address challenges by using the same kind of thinking that we used, in a sense, that created those challenges in the first place. And I think it's a nice quote, and I think it raises the question then, well, what kind of thinking are we going to use? If we have to use a new kind of thinking to solve the kinds of challenges that I just mentioned in the workplace, and our current thinking is what gave rise to those challenges, what is this new kind of thinking? And my answer to that is severalfold, and I'll go through that now. So I think one new type of thinking comes from positive psychology. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with positive psychology. It's sort of a growing thing, but typically I find not that many people are yet familiar with it. The main idea is this, that for the last 100 years or so, the field of applied psychology is focused on the left side of this curve that I'm showing you. So you might say the negative side of the curve. Negative in the sense that psychology is focused on helping people with problems that are experiencing some kind of mental illness or just a difficult time of life get back to being okay again. And about 10 years ago, Professor Martin Seligman at the University of Pennsylvania, he was the president of the American Psychological Association, and he asked a new question. And that new question was, why shouldn't the field of psychology, applied psychology, also focus on the right side of this curve? Why shouldn't there be a science, a psychology of what makes people great, to help people who are good or great become extraordinary? And with that question, the field of positive psychology was born, and it's essentially a new science that also pulls in a lot of old science into a coherent field that's now looking at the drivers of human performance and how we can help ourselves do better, not just in the workplace, but in our life. So we at IE, we're applying positive psychology specifically to leadership. It's what we call positive leadership. And for us, that has 3 core components. The first is what we call training mindware, and this is my particular area of research and teaching and expertise. The idea here is that we have certain components of our thinking that literally drive the way we think and the way we behave, and that we can actually retrain them to optimize our performance. The second core component of positive leadership, as we define it, has to do with harnessing strengths. The idea being that psychology is now showing us with increasing results from experiments that a focus on weaknesses just doesn't produce the same kind of return on, let's say, development investment as focusing on strengths. And there's a lot of new science talking about, and with the results that inform us about how we can focus on strengths in a new way to get the most out of our people. The third component of positive leadership is what I call professional fitness. So we're all familiar with physical fitness, right? We go to the gym and we work out. But in the same way that if I asked you whether you went to the gym 3 days in a row, if that would make you physically fit, I'm sure all of you would say no. It maybe gets you motivated, it makes you certainly sore the next day, but it doesn't make you physically fit. Well, I think the same thing applies to professional fitness. I mean, we have this idea that in corporate training that we can put people in a room for a half-day workshop or maybe a 3-day workshop, maybe even a 5-day workshop, the companies that invest a lot in training. But just like with physical fitness, that doesn't make, 3 days at the gym doesn't make you fit. I don't think that 3 days in executive education and corporate training makes you fit. It gets you motivated, it gives you some new ideas, but you need to practice. And I think that's a new area that we're going to explore in the idea of corporate development, professional fitness in the workplace.